and welcome to PSIRDEMATICA. In this tutorial series, we would be looking at how to write bash scripts. So without wasting much time, let's get started. I'm Joseph Sedem, a tutor at PSIRDEMATICA. We are glad you are learning bash scripting with us. So basically, if you've been using the Linux operating system or any Linux-based system, you are used to the command maybe move to move a certain directory or a certain file from one side to another, or to rename a file. You are used to touch or maybe make directory, and then all sorts of Linux commands, right, in the terminal that we use to navigate the terminal or create a file, move a file, rename a file, copy a file, or do other stuff in a terminal. But then sometimes there are certain tasks that you would want to automate or write together so that they perform a specific task. You want to rename some set of files, you want to delete some shortcuts or some group of files, and then you don't want to delete them one after the other or use the remove command file by file and certain things, right? So if you want to do those things, then you would want to write a bash script, right, where you would put all of these commands together and then just run a single file, and then they do all these things for you. So bash scripting is a way of putting all of the set of commands that we would want to run on a certain file or a group of files or certain action, especially repetitive action or boring actions. We put all of the commands together in a script, make that script executable, and then when we run it, we get the desired outcome. So basically it does that. And in this tutorial series, we are going to guide you through how to do some interesting bash scripts to do some stuff or some activities for you. So to get started, you will need to make use of the terminal, or maybe know how to use certain text editors to edit your text. If you are used to Vim, you can use Vim. If you are used to Nano, you can use Nano. But then in this series, I'll be using VS Code, right? So if you'd want to use the VS Code and follow along, all you have to do is make sure you have internet connection, or your machine is connected to the internet, and you do sudo snap install code. Then you do what? Dash dash classic. Then you wait for some time, and then when you hit enter, it asks you for your password. You input your password. Once it's done installing, you can continue from this video. But I already have VS Code installed. So what I'll do is I'll create a directory, make a directory. Maybe I'll call it scripts or bash scripts, where I'll put all my bash scripts, and then I'll cd into that directory. Now I am there. So I would want to open my VS Code in this directory. So all I'll do is type code and then dot or full stop. This will open VS Code in this directory for me, or with this directory for me. Now I can minimize my terminal and then open the VS Code big. Okay. So now I'm inside my bash script. So let's open or create a new file. To create a new file, you can just click on this file icon here, right? To create a new file, you can come to the file tab here and then choose create a new file. But then I would like this one here, and then the name of the file. So let's call this hello.sh. So by convention, bash scripts end with .sh extension. This is not by any chance to help the kernel or the interpreter or whatever is going to run the bash script to understand it, but this is just to enable text editors to do some color coding and some other stuff for us. Bear in mind that Linux doesn't really care about file extensions. So now the first thing you have to do if you want to run a bash script is to always declare your shebang, right? But then once you create a bash script, you would want to make it executable. But let's first create a shebang and then I'll teach you what to do. So the shebang is just a hash and then an exclamation. That's the shebang that tells the Linux kernel the file or the utility that you want to use to run the script. Okay, so here we use bin bash. So we want to use the bash utility here to run whatever is coming down here, right? So the basic thing or the basic command we can do is just to echo something, right? And then we do echo hello world, right? So after running this, after typing this, you can save your file and then we would have to execute the script. So to do that, we want to open our terminal, an inbuilt terminal in VS Code. So you can come here and click on the terminal here, right? To open a terminal session here, or you can just type Control Shift or Control tilde. So Control Shift and then the tilde. This will open a new VS Code terminal here for you. If you do ls, you can see your file here, right? So now to run the file, for now you can do bash and then hello.sh to run the file. So you start after adding bash here, runs the file here, and then the contents says that you should just echo the hello world to screen for us or to the standard output. But then this is not a convention, right? So if you do ll hello.sh, you would see that this file by default has certain modes or certain file permissions. You can only read and write, read and write, read. So it means that the user of the file can just read and write. The group would also read and write, and then the other could just read the file, which means this file is not executable. We would want to make this file executable so we don't have to always determine or call the utility that we want to use to run the script. You can just go ahead and then run it. So to do that, we have to change the mode of the file. So we chmod and then we use 755. 755 would make the user have read, write, execute. The group have just read and execute, and then the others also have read and execute. So if you want to know more about this, you can go and watch Cinematica's video on Let's Learn Linux, where we discuss the file permissions, right? So now the name of the file is hello.sh. So once you hit enter and do ll hello.that, you see that now we have added the execute option, that's the xxx to this, which means that now everybody can execute the file, only the user can write to the file. Okay, so basically that's that. So now we don't have to use the bash again, but we can just do dots and then / the name of the scripts we do. Sorry, this is hello.sh. So you hit enter, now it runs simply because the file is not executable. So you can either use dot or you use source, then the name of the file hello.sh. This will also run it for you.